I'm
Oh, no,
from.
they can see it too.
Oh, well, if you see it,
They're seeing that UCLA shirt.
Yeah, the UCLA. I've got as your DUI lawyer, my optimal wit from Port City, Billy Butcher. Mad love, shout out to my man. And if you ever want to get to the bottom of my heart, send me a little optimal wit.
There you go. So you walked in with that and you said, "Here's my box lunch."
It is, yeah, six pack of optimal wit. Bring your own box lunch. That's the Bob Battle Law buffet.
Well, thanks, Bob. I've known you for many years. We've become great friends. We also have a lot of common friends. You're from around here, Alexandria originally, right?
Born in Alexandria. My dad was with the FBI. He got transferred here a couple years before I was born. Then he went from DC field office to headquarters. So the life of an FBI family was pretty stable after the time that I was born.
And you went to BI?
Bishop Ireton High School. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I was at a golf outing in Richmond. Went to see a baseball game. The Flying Squirrels, the Giants AA affiliate last night. So I got to meet the new principal of Bishop Ireton. She's going to do a great job.
Very good.
Yeah.
And then you went on to William and Mary?
Yep. Well, I went undergrad in Notre Dame.
Okay, very good.
And then went to William and Mary for law school. So it was funny. Virginians will get this, older Virginians will get this. With the name Bob Battle, Bill Battle was the lieutenant governor of Virginia. He ran for governor and lost. Bill Battle was also the head football coach at the University of Tennessee. Growing up, I used to get called Bill at least once a week. I went off to college in northern Indiana at Notre Dame for 4 years. Didn't get called Bill once. My first week of law school at William and Mary, I must have got called Bill 10 times. It's like I'm back home in Virginia because no, it's Battle, and then it begins with a B.
And by the way, that's one of the best names ever, Bob Battle, especially for a lawyer.
Yeah, Bob Battle, fighting for your legal rights, and all those cheesy things. I even said in one of my newsletters, said, if you can't make some sort of a statement or marketing pitch and your last name is Battle, then you might want to re-examine that dream of being running your own business.
So, Thomas, I want you to bring up that first iteration of Bob Battle's website that we found in our Wayback Machine. So this right here, gang, is Robert Battle's very first, right?
Yeah.
And there he is, all of 14 years old or so. So that's kind of, those of you that have been around long enough remember when websites were as simple as that.
Yeah, it basically it looks like a lousy brochure that someone would make for you, which it pretty much was.
And then now, were you in Richmond there in that first one?
No.
Okay, where is this? This is here, and is this when you went off on your own? Okay.
Yeah. Robert E. Battle. I mean, sort of the
give us the story.
Is when I graduated from law school, I clerked for a federal judge in Alexandria, Virginia, Judge James Kacharis. That's a year-long clerkship. Was with an insurance defense firm for a period of time, was absolutely miserable at that job. They had an opening in the Fairfax County Commonwealth Attorney's Office, which Commonwealth Attorney is the district attorney in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Worked there for 4 years, from almost June of '86 to June of 1990. And basically it was great. Fairfax, at that time, just for example of how much experience you get, when I was an assistant prosecutor in Fairfax, we had, I think, 17 assistant prosecutors. Well, in the D.C. metropolitan area, Prince George's County and Montgomery County had roughly the same amount of cases that went through and were processed. I think Montgomery County had 40 assistants and Prince George's had 36. So we were doing them with a lean and mean staff. It was great. I mean, I think I had over 50 jury trials in just that 4-year period, and thousands upon thousands of non-jury trials.
So you met a lot of people then.
Yeah. So left there, and then was actually my avocation started getting a lot of notoriety and publicity, which I do. I've done stand-up comedy professionally, and so my thought was, well, I was thinking of taking some time off after leaving the prosecutor's office, and I'd kind of just pick up law cases here and there and be able to do some of these out-of-town, comedy clubs that I wasn't able to do with only 2 weeks vacation at a prosecutor's job. But then what happened was my brother had was it leaving his firm? He had a big criminal case that was coming his way. So we joined, and I practiced with him for about 3.5 years. That ended in total disaster, and
I remember this story.
yeah, and left on my own. Ended with him suing me, and with a frivolous lawsuit that got dismissed. He got sanctioned by the judge, and then he had the nerve to ask my best friend, who was the best man at my wedding, if he was willing to make him a judge. It's like, let me see, you filed a frivolous lawsuit against your brother, and you got sanctioned for discovery violations. How about no for the judgeship? But anyway, since then, I've just been a true solo. I mean, doing 100% on my own. I don't even have a secretary.
So it's one of the things about you is that you are you. You are your own man. You are your own person. You don't apologize about anything. You've always been that way since I met you. You've never tried to be anything but you.
You know,
right?
Yeah, and everyone else is already doing their thing, so
right.
That's all I can be. But no, honestly, it's something that it suits my personality. You know, I've never shied away from saying I want to call the shot. Just like if you want to be a litigator, yeah, I want to handle the high-profile case. I want to do it. Some don't, but I think that's a positive thing, and you should recognize it. I've said for ages, I am unemployable. There's no doubt about it. With all of the experience that I've had and everything else, I'm not going to listen to someone else, come in and tell me, you're using too many paper clips. You better duck if that happens.
So you just kind of snuck that in there a little bit, and I think a lot of people know this about you, but I'm sure many more don't, which is that you are a comedian, and you've had some very high-profile comedians open for you over the years,
yeah,
right?
Well, I mean, when I was in the D.C. area, I mean, really, Baltimore, D.C., and Richmond were one big area. That was kind of a basic working group. Well, Dave Chappelle was in high school when he just started out. And so, yeah, Dave Chappelle has opened up for me. Wanda Sykes has opened up for me.
She's from Virginia, too.
Yeah. And Patton Oswalt as well. I don't think any of them is still putting that on their resume. but yeah.
But you will, for sure. Yeah, hell yeah.
And the other nice thing, very early on, because, and a lot of people.
You even opened up for Mad Brenda.
Yeah, I have. For those of you who don't know, Mad Brenda is the Foster family band with Tom playing guitar, one of his daughters on drums, one of his daughters on lead vocals, and it's a very good band. And so, but anyway, at a marketing event, they were playing, and they said, "Well, let's have Bob do a comedy show." Now, unfortunately, my comedy show that I was doing was a PowerPoint, and the band was already set up. So there's a picture somewhere of basically my PowerPoint is projected sort of like half on the ceiling and half on the wall. and as I like to say to people, it's like, in looking over my now 30-year plus professional comedy career, back in the day, it's like I've opened up for Norm Macdonald, Kevin Meaney, Chris Rock, Martin Lawrence. I've already told you the people who've opened up for me. Now I'm doing a free gig opening up for Mad Brenda, and my stuff's being projected sort of on the ceiling and the drum kit. So I like to say, unfortunately, the career path of my comedy career resembles Benjamin Button's life because it's going in the wrong direction.
That was a fun gig.
It was.
All right. Well, so you've done and you still do the comedy stuff, right?
I am doing. Basically, I've got and this is the show that you were talking about. I've got this PowerPoint show called Outrageous Advertising that's outrageously awful. So and that gets lawyer groups, entrepreneur groups.
You've done that at GKIC too.
I did it. Bill Glazer, Bill Glazer is Dan Kennedy's partner. He wrote a book called Outrageous Advertising that's outrageously successful. Yeah. One of the things of mine that he had put in his book, because I said, as you see, I'm the marketing genius. I've got the Bob Battle bobblehead. But one thing I also made was, you go to stamps.com, I put my headshot on a stamp, and I put on it, "In Bob We Trust." So he saw that, and he just said, "Yeah, all right, here's a lawyer who's got a sense of humor." So he put that in his book. And so then he asked me at a big event that he had in Orlando. There's over 1,000 entrepreneurs from all over the world there, and I did my outrageous advertising. That's outrageously awful there. Now, another show that I did earlier when I moved from Northern Virginia to Richmond was a show called From Inside the Beltway to the Capital of the Confederacy. And actually now with the whole Ralph Northam blackface thing, I've got a lot of new, fresh material. So I'm actually getting ready to maybe break that out for a couple fundraisers that I plan on doing in the next couple months.
So you're for hire?
Yes.
All right, everybody know that Bob Battles for hire not only as an amazing DUI and traffic hack attorney, but also as a professional comedian. He'll send you his resume and everybody that he's opened up.
I will. Anyway. One blends off the other.
Yeah,
like if I see
sure.
at one of my shows, I'll buy a couple shots, and at the end of the show, it's like, hey, you've been
card.
drinking, so drive home real fast. You want to be on the road? Yeah.
That's just one way to get some traffic to your website.
ABM, always be marketing.
Okay, so we met because you responded to a letter, long-form letter that was mailed to you by Ben Glass.
Correct.
When he first started Great Legal Marketing.
Yeah, there was, if I can kind of tell you sort of where my website was at and, what I was looking at, I had a webmaster I found. And one thing about having done stand-up, I've also done acting professionally, taken lessons, taking acting for the camera lessons, and done a series of Volvo commercials that aired up and down the East Coast. So I figured that's an advantage. I'm comfortable being on camera.
We also forgot to mention you did Redskins radio for a bit, right? Or you
I
were
did
up
not
in the
do
booth?
I was the Redskins press box announcer,
right,
so for
there you go.
8 seasons.
Yeah.
So basically, and grew up a huge Redskins fan. So I mean, it just still blows my mind that the Redskins paid me to go to the games. Now, a lot of people mistake, you're all familiar with the stadium announcer, and that's just the guy who you hear over the loudspeaker. The press box announcer is the guy who sits next to the official scorekeeper, and it only goes to the press box because in the NFL, there's no such thing as a 3.5-yard gain. So it's either a 3 or a 4-yard gain. So I'd sit next to the official scorekeeper. He'd go gain of 3. I'd turn the mic on. I'd go Terry Allen carries, gain of 3 yards. He'd go 2nd and 7 from the 23, and I'd go 2nd and 7 from the 23. So it's just basically providing, and a good public relations head can also sort of steer the media as to the headlines for the story. So like later in the game when it looked like the Redskins were going to win, they'd say Gus Frerotte completed his last 10 passes, or so and so Terry Allen was one of the main running backs the first couple years I was there. Terry Allen did that, or Brian Mitchell returned, that's his 8th kickoff return in his career. So they would like steer some of these facts, and they're helping the reporters out,
Sure.
but also sort of steering the story to make it a
more
positive
interesting
things on the
and
game.
compelling.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about a little bit more when we
Hey,
show off
look
some
at
of your
that.
newsletter stuff. Good segue. All right, so you met Ben, sent you the letter. You're like, what the hell? What's this?
And so basically, sort of, I grew up in Alexandria, practiced in Alexandria. 1999, I meet the love of my life, and she is just finishing medical school in Richmond. We get married, so I moved from Alexandria to Richmond, which is 100 miles south of Northern Virginia. So really, I followed my heart down there, but did not even have a Yellow Page ad my first year down there. And so it was a real struggle. So when I got Ben's letter, it was one of these, long form letters, and what he was saying made sense. I mean, I can see through him, and I get asked all the time. When I sit down to Sunday dinner with my wife's family, her brother's got a PhD in algebraic number theory. Her dad has a PhD in sociology, and still retired writes one of the 2 top sociology textbooks in the country. My wife's got a master's degree in biomedical ethics. She's a board certified doctor. So I know a lot of people a lot smarter than I am, but I've always had a great BS detector. And it's great for cross-examination. It's great for not getting ripped off. So many, we call them the marketing vultures. So many of these people who would contact people was like, no, that's a bunch of crap. And so what Ben Glass was saying in this letter, it's like that made a lot of sense to me. And the other thing, as far as where my website was, is I had found a guy, with a website. I said, hey, I want to add video to it. And he really, didn't have any of the more modern conveniences. So actually, when you looked at the video segment, it was a very tiny dot in the middle. So it looked like Bob Battle as Ant-Man will tell you why you should hire him for your DUI. But
Can you show that site? That's the second one, I think, Thomas. It was the one that it's the next one after that.
Yeah, and he had, the video was up on some other separate platform, and if you clicked on it, it took 5 seconds, and you get some glitchy video. Looked like Bob Battle after 15 beers as it was glitching away. Yeah. And so, but anyway, the thing that really got me is I'd referred some friends of mine from the area to him, and all of a sudden I've been his client for years, and they are destroying me. I'm page 3, 4, 5, and so I go talk to this guy, and I say, hey, wait a second, why are these guys who've been your clients for 3 weeks? And he says, oh, and this is an old school technique that's not valid by Google anymore, but they had loaded all of their new clients onto their main website, and so everybody was getting
the link juice.
getting the link juice from that, but they never bothered to put the old clients on that because they were all getting my money. So at this point, I was looking to learn some marketing, but also to find a new webmaster.
And so then we met.
Yeah. And the other thing that we were talking before we went on the air, it just gets me that people don't do this. People will get these ads. You get these ads every day saying, "Oh, we'll put you on page 1 of Google." And when we were talking, say, for what?
Right.
Or will you? Or is it an AdWord? Sure, you can spend whatever and get on page 1. And I do like to mess with if I get some of these people on the phone, which usually I just don't bother to talk to them. But sometimes when they say, hey, we can get you, for the relevant search terms, I say, what are the relevant search terms of my practice? Long silence.
Right.
And so they're just, full of it that way. So what I did when I, looked at Tom is most of the time you can go, like you go to Foster Web Marketing, they're going to promote some of their top clients. So you look and say, oh, there's a South Carolina domestic relations attorney. There's a Fairfax County medical malpractice lawyer. So what I did before I even called Tom up was I actually did the Google searches on my own. It's like, hey, this isn't BS. There they are, organic search results, first page, organic search results. And back in those days, remember, even multiple websites, blog sites, you could have 7 or 8, and they didn't have separate video pages, so you added videos. So those are the good old days when Bob Battle had slots 1 through 20 on pages 1 and 2 of Google.
Right.
So maybe a little bit fairer now, but
it is more fair.
I like to dominate.
Okay, so it's funny. You remember when we were talking at the last GLM Summit last year, and I was kind of relaying a conversation I had with somebody that was kind of complaining because they weren't on page 1 right out, and you looked at me and you're like, thank God it ain't that easy.
Yeah. I have that conversation with people all the time. There was a project that I had done for a while, a national DUI coaching group, and we had a blog that everybody shared. And I remember having a conversation with one of the members. He said, because I told the story, and it's a true story about how Bob Kiefer from Harrisonburg, Virginia, had posted about one of his cases, and if you look the next day, it was showing up on page 1 of Google. It's relevant, and so I talked to people about. So this other guy said, "Look, I checked. I'm not showing up at all." And I said, "Have you added?" And it's one of those things where everybody could easily log in, add your own content to it. And I said, "Have you added any content?" And I said, "Well, thank God you're just like you said. Thank God you're not showing up on page 1, because to add no content and still have it show up, that would be creepy." But the reality is, it's if you'd post one post a month for the time you'd have been on there, I guarantee you'd have showed up with that blog on page 1 of Google.
That's how it works. Okay, so you came on with us not soon after we met. I'll never forget. I remember the conversation walking around my kitchen with you,
which was your office at the time.
Yes, which was my office at the time. And I was kind of and you were just called up I want to hire you. Here's what I want to do. And we got busy. And so, Toms, can you show the first one? I think it's the one with the colorful buttons.
Yeah.
And that's just the first iteration. And you could just see the giant and obviously content was, well, still is, content is king, but back then it was like just pile it on, baby.
Yeah, and if you look at it, you can see that there's, interesting headlines. There's use of two colors, like you'll see in
we got the boxing gloves
yeah.
in there to give and then we got the and then the 3-column Holy Grail approach that worked very well back in those days of trying to get as much content on each page.
Correct.
Of course, that's different now. You can actually get hurt by having that, and that's why you need to update your website. So let's show the next iteration.
Yeah, and that's showing there we've added video.
Yeah, that's when we added video. Yeah,
and
there's Bob Battle, Bobblehead, right?
And the thing,
those are the first. Those are great.
Yeah.
Those are
and the first.
Oh, you're 18 here.
Yeah, but the first one was funny because we had the bobblehead as the intro to the videos, but because of what I do, we had made, which in retrospect wasn't the greatest decision in the world. It started out. Do you remember how it started out with a siren?
Yes.
Well, the reality is, this is before everyone had a smartphone and was looking on a smartphone.
Oh,
so people got a DUI. They show up looking like the cat just dragged them in the next day, unshaven, probably wearing the same same outfit except for the fact they've shit in their pants, so they're in there hungover, and so they go and they log on. It's like, oh, someone said this guy Bob Battle's a good DUI lawyer, and all of a sudden, woo, the police sign. So he figured, maybe not the most discreet way in the office to not let everybody know that you're looking for a DUI lawyer. So
we got that out, but we had that on there for a long time, didn't we? Before we were like, maybe we should take the siren off.
Yeah, and we shot new videos and focused more on the consumer guides as well. But you can still, I'm sure you can still find on the web if you see the bobblehead first, the old siren.
And that's when you first came out with the offer, I think, or not soon after, and we made the offer more prominent. You've got a few more offers, and you also wrote part of the tax law, or part of the not tax law, but part of the law in Virginia, right? I wish you'd rewrite the tax law.
Yeah, wish I could. Well, basically, what happened was really in studying marketing, it's what I do is really classic direct response marketing. And so what I learned to focus on is I didn't want that person calling me or contacting me immediately. I wanted them to read my consumer guide because by learning consumer guide, people don't know, and lawyers are bad at this. I think a lot of professionals are bad at this. Is they think people know more than they do, and so and our good buddy Dave Freeze talks about not only frequently asked questions but should be asked questions.
Right.
So anyway, the sort of the big overhead principle is when you're writing these consumer guides, you want to get into the conversation that the client is already having in their heads. And so when it comes to DUI, people, although it's the cocktail party question, hey, I've had 3 drinks, I don't think I'm drunk, what do I do if I get pulled over? I mean, so people do have a slight thing that, maybe someday this may be me, but the reality is once it happens, they're like, holy crap, I've got an arraignment in 2 days, I need to find it.
Right.
So the title of my DUI book is How to Choose a DUI Lawyer in Virginia, which is exactly, and there's a 10 questions that you should be asking any lawyer. I answer these questions for me. Part 2, I talk about 20 issues that I see lawyers miss that lose winnable cases for their clients, because in DUIs, it is absolutely true. I mean, think of it. There aren't a lot of specialty areas in law school that you don't take that class in law school. If you do divorce work, there's a class in divorce work. Estate planning, there's estate planning classes. There's property classes. There is no class in law school called DUI defense. So you either learn it by joining these national groups, like I'm a member of the National College of DUI Defense, the DUI Defense Lawyers of America. 2 very good groups. I'm in both of them. But that's how you get this skill set. So one of the things that I think is a mistake that some criminal defense lawyers do, some DUI lawyers do, is they are totally going after the police officers. Now, if you're a civil rights lawyer and you're making a lot of money suing cops for excessive force, fine, you can use that. But in general, hey, we do need police officers. They do very good things. They protect us. So what I said is sort of the personal injury lawyers do a great job saying that they demonize the insurance companies, and they also not so subtly get it known to all these people watching their ads that, hey, by the way, it's the insurance companies that are really involved here. So if you think this guy, who hit this other guy and by just made an accident, negligent mistake, they make it. This guy's not paying for it. His insurance company's paying for it, and insurance company's probably lowballing that person. That's why they're there. Well, my marketing is sort of, I'm not marketing against the police officer. I'm marketing against what we call in the DUI national groups, the dump truck DUI lawyers. They don't have the skill set. That they
Right.
It's very complex. So I talk 20 issues that your lawyer can miss that lose winnable cases. So right there, that's also speaking to these people. Say, look, if you don't get the right lawyer, they're not going to be able to come up with these issues. And it's a very, very forensic heavy type of defense. It's I always say to people, it's a lot more Mr. Spock than it is Captain Kirk when you're defending DUIs.
Well, I like the reference.
You had to throw that in for you. Yeah.
It shows how well you know me. That's interesting what you said. And remember what we were talking about before the call. We're getting some outside noise in here, Thomas. I think that his mic is a little turned up. But anyway, which is that you're not needy. And I'm always telling clients, stop being needy. Hire me, hire me, hire me. That's a great tactic, what you talked about, which is like instead of like what you were saying, PI guys going after the insurance companies, but you going after other lawyers. And it's great that you have how to pick a lawyer, and here are the 10 things that you should ask. That right there, everyone that's listening, is a great successful strategy where you can have people start questioning, even if they've already hired another lawyer. Correct? I mean,
sure.
Now obviously your timeline is a little shrunk than like a personal injury lawyer or some other kind of lawyer, but that's another question. The institution question, like what you're saying in the insurance agencies, but also question if you've hired the wrong lawyer.
Yeah, and that there's not as much of that in what I do. I mean, basically, people are going to be looking instantly, and I think it's more of a red flag. If someone's already hired someone when they come in, and that's one of the reasons I don't do free consultations. It's like, hey, by the way, you've hired a lawyer, so you can always replace your lawyer if you want. But if you want to meet with me and try to make that decision at this point, you're going to pay me same consultation fee, which is $400 that everybody pays.
Do they do free consultation in DUI world?
Everybody. I'm the only one I know of, I've heard of, that's charging $400.
Why would you do that?
I don't know.
I hope all you DUI lawyers are listening, and you can certainly ask Bob why, because you just do it. And you're like, part of it is that, and this is going back to the whole do-it-yourselfer attitude that you've always had, is that you've created the firm the way that you wanted to create it. It is a boutique firm. You work as much or as little as you want, correct?
Yeah, and there's, what I have done is sort of looked at what a lot of the, and said Ben Glass, who started Great Legal Marketing, is a personal injury lawyer, but I've looked at, the differences in being a criminal defense DUI lawyer and actually turn them into huge advantages. For example, someone has 2 years once they're injured to file a personal injury lawsuit. So one of the things that a personal injury lawyer has to do is get this person to, decide, hey, I'm going to look for a lawyer, today, or hire this person and make that decision. It's even tougher on a guy as an estate planner. No matter, all of us realize that we need to update or get a will to begin with, yet we're not getting around to doing it. And in marketing, sort of the artificial efforts to get people to make that decision is called a call to action. So like if you see, hey, only 2 left, or buy this today, get the Ginsu knife. These are all marketing efforts to get someone to, calls to action to get them to hire someone. Well, the great thing for me is the call to action is this person spent a night in jail and they've got an arraignment coming up sometime within the next week, and they've been given a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So there's no call to action. And as a thing of worrying about hiring other people, no, you get basically one shot with these people. So that's the nice thing. I've got a consumer guide that I talked about. I send out direct mail, and you were talking about sort of the attitude of not being needy. And one thing you should always, if you're sending direct mail, is a letter, to someone saying, why they should hire you. But my PS on my direct mail I send to DUI clients is, PS, don't hire me, don't hire anybody till you've got this free book. So I'm not, they're not getting any of the pushy car salesman type thing. They on their own can download the guide, and if after looking at it decide they want to follow up further, then that's when they call me.
And that creates a different kind of conversation when they call you, because it's more, they're calling you not price matching.
Correct.
Do people try to call you in price match?
Very rarely. No. And even Ben Glass said, and one of the things about having a top-notch website like my Foster website, I don't know if we can, bobbattlelaw.com is the website, is Ben Glass had said years ago, he said, you can't come to that website, look at it, read it, look at the content, and say, this is a $500 lawyer. So
totally
right. And so the reality is, people,
it's not just that, it's your Avo rating, your reviews, your 10 out of 10 on Avo, 5 out of 5 on Super Lawyers. It's like, because people are going to go check out your Bob Battle and go look at other websites that talk about you too, to justify their decision, especially when you tell them it's $5,000 and they're like, hey, somebody else is charging too, I'm 5, go hire them.
No, I don't say, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't. It's like, I don't care what other people are charging.
Right.
And even, I remember years ago, and this guy's no longer practicing the Richmond area, I'm just not going to say his name, but I remember, coming in and meeting with someone, and, and part of the whole process, and, one thing, this is a marketing podcast, is if you as a lawyer don't recognize that you and your website, your consumer guides, your staff, the person who answers the phone, that they are all part of the sales process, then you shouldn't be running your own business.
Go to GLM.
Yeah, go to GLM and learn. Go get a government job. You don't ever want to have to learn to sell. But the reality is, so all of this, everything you do should be very deliberate. So as I said, the reason I want to direct the person that consumer guide is after reading that, they're going to be able to conclude on their own that I want this guy, Bob Battle, to represent me on my case. When I talk to the person on the phone, then a lot of personal injury lawyers send out what we refer to as a shock and awe package, which the shock and awe package is, books, other, DVDs, videos, whatever, that will be sent to this person so the person can look at it and be shocked and awed and say, wow, these people are amazing. I don't send out a shock and awe. I make the shock and awe as part of what they get at the $400 consultation. So what I say, and I phrase it very deliberately, I will say to the people, look, obviously when I've got a book that when in part 2 I talk about 20 issues that I see lawyers miss that lose winnable cases for their clients, that I don't have a very high opinion of the lawyers who are willing to take your good money, and say they can represent you as DUI lawyers. Well, not only that, I don't have a very high opinion of them as businessmen either. One thing I don't do is a free in-office consultation. I said I charge a flat $400 consultation fee. Then I tell you, at that consultation fee, I will give you printed versions of all the books I've written on Virginia DUI defense. We will go over in my conference room on a flat screen TV connected to the internet, all the ways I look to beat these charges, all the code sections, case law, the most recent developments. Then we'll start talking in much greater detail about what happened to you. So part of that is on the phone, I will consult them, but I'm not, and no lawyer should give legal advice for free. Because if you're giving legal advice, whether they hire you or not, you're on the hook ethically. So the reality is they get from the phone call that I am not giving any legal advice in the consultation. Having written books and consumer guide, I give them more information for free, but they've got to pay the $400. And yeah, then
but then they get in, they come in.
Yeah, and if someone's going to pay $400, I mean, 99% of the people who do that hire me.
Right, because they've already, yeah.
And usually those who don't are college students at VCU who've been just a thorn in their parents' side, and the parents just decided to throw them under the bus. They're done with them.
Well, plus, not all, you know, what you were saying, like all of it has to do with the sales or the marketing. Plus, you have a war room that you bring them in, right? So
yeah,
the room is staged.
Yeah, I actually have my conference room is painted camouflage. Right behind me, where the client sits, is the big black and white photo of Muhammad Ali knocking out Sonny Liston. Above that is, and actually painted on, is a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King, about injustice to any is injustice for all. And as you're walking into the room, there's also painted on the outside of the door is a quote, and although it says Commonwealth first, it's actually from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, but it's a judge who actually said an opinion, says, I believe we are becoming a police state in the name of DUI defense. So that's another piece of it, is that they come in there, and you said 99% of the people that come in and pay $400 pay the rest. Yeah. And sign you up. Yeah, and part of going in there, they can see, these videos they see on my website, it could have taken me 10 takes to spit out something coherent. So when they're sitting at the table across from me, they can see that when I give them the definition of intoxicated, Virginia Code 4.1-100, I say, it talks about 6 things. I can rattle off, those 6 things that fit up the definition off the top of my head, and I'm not reading off a piece of paper. And then I show them when I talk about field sobriety tests. I go to my wall of fame where I've got an article about me being the lawyer who buried the old machine in Virginia, and I show from 1999.
I remember that
a lecture that I gave on field sobriety tests, and so I say there is not one study that has been done on these field sobriety tests from when I gave this lecture to lawyers from all over the state 20 years ago. I've got my book, and I said in the back of my book, you can see I put a CD of all these major government-sponsored field tests, but not one study during that entire time period to date that has said that these tests are any more accurate or any more reliable. So again, right there, they're able to see, hey, this guy knows this stuff, and it is complex.
You also know your way around the courtroom. I've seen you in action. I've hired you a couple of times, for myself, my friends, some family. You always come through. Everyone knows you. That's the other thing too, is that the judges know you. You're down in Richmond, but you're up here in Fairfax quite a lot.
Yeah, less and less. I used to say when I first got married, because most of my business still was up here in Northern Virginia, I said at that time, there were interstate truckers, who looked at me and said, man, that guy's on the road a lot back and forth. And as a few years went on, I said to, I'd see people up here, I'd say, look, if you do see me up here, don't feel sorry for me, because what I charge extra to come to Northern Virginia, I'd walk for the fee I'm charging people. But now I say, do feel sorry for me, because I'm usually representing, a very close friend or family member for gratis.
Coming up here.
That's one of the great things about having your own business. You get to make those decisions.
And that's true. That's the other thing. The lesson to take away from this with you is that, when I'm talking to clients, I'm always telling them, especially most of us small firms, solo, it's a boutique business. It's not, you market it differently than you do a big giant law firm. It's, like just like you would market a family-owned jewelry store differently than Walmart markets themselves.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's what you promote. I mean, you promote what you've got. And one thing, if I have, there are some friends of mine, they are very good lawyers. And if you're listening to this and you are doing this, let me tell you, stop it. But there are lawyers, and they're basically, the client will meet with one lawyer. They will develop a trust to that lawyer. They will hire that lawyer. Then the night before, these lawyers will be sitting there and say, like, hey, I've got one in Fairfax. Where are you tomorrow? Prince William. It's like, oh, I got an extra one in Prince William. Why don't you take this guy? And so sometimes these people, they don't even call the guy up and say, oh, by the way, my associate or partner is going there. And I mean, it's just amazing
Do
me
people
that
really do that?
Yes. And it's just very, so these big, busy, active firms, they're just, dealing like they're, shuffling cards for the files. And so I take advantage of that, because I say in my fee agreement, I talk about, hey, no lawyer can promise anything other than their best efforts. No one can guarantee any results. And one of the things I will throw in, it's not written, I say, one thing, if you haven't got it, if you've spoken to other firms, is, as you can see, when you called up the firm, I was the one who picked up the phone and called you back. When you meet with me, I am the one here. I'm the one who's going to do all the work in your case. I'm going to be the one in court, because it just is amazing that people don't treat these people as valued clients / customers, and they're treating them as just another file in the office.
And that's why you have these reviews and this rating, and that's what those people that are doing that, I don't know how they do that ethically, but that are doing that, they're not going to get the reviews.
Right.
And that's the other big thing that we're talking about, is that even when people say you should use Bob Battle because he's awesome, those people that they're going to go to Google and type in Bob Battle and say, what do other people say about him? Mm-hmm. So that's another part of it. So yeah, definitely don't do it that way.
Right. And even on some of the things, you can't help do criminal defense work or DUI work, and you're going to get some negative reviews. And the reality is, it's almost like being a football coach. If you win, 1 week you're the greatest, you lose the next week you're a bum. But so what? And the other thing is, ethically, you can't respond and say, like, this person, is a second DUI, got to reduce to a first, and a refusal charge dropped as well. And so they actually got was a very good deal. But the interesting is, the only bad reviews I've gotten in the last, I don't know, 5-6 years are from people who I didn't hire.
Exactly.
And so, and I just, couldn't help but, make light of that, because I said, I guess as someone who has been practicing for over 30 years, I should feel flattered that someone gives me a crappy review because I didn't take their case. But, it was, it's just something that there was other reasons, very good reasons why I didn't take this case on, but I just made fun of it. I said, they talk, and the person did in their bad review say, I was willing to pay him his $5,000. And I said, with as bad of publicity that lawyers get for being dishonest, he says, which is true, I walked away from $5,000. I said, Honest Abe Lincoln gets put on Mount Rushmore. Bob Battle gets a 1-star review. So, and the reality is, that's the thing. It's like, if you can't, some people just get totally, crushed, and they're paralyzed by that. It's like, hey, you just have to be able to look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day, and you have to have some close people to say, at times, hey, was I maybe over the line in this situation? And when all is said and done, you say, no, absolutely, I'd make that decision 100 out of 100 times. I have some fun with it.
So speaking of having fun with it, because we're almost done, but I wanted to show your newsletter because I'm always telling people they need to be doing newsletter. I cannot still believe to this day how many people are not doing email newsletters and print newsletters. That is, everybody's focused on keywords, and as we already laughed about what keywords, and there's endless keywords to focus on. And I'm not saying not to do that, but make sure that you're emailing your list and you're talking to your list, because of that's your best sales force. Those are all the people that you've worked with in your past, your friends and family.
Right. And the big thing is, we're going to talk about it and get in a second, is my newsletter. I make humorous.
Yeah, here it is. We got
like
that's
interesting.
Your body bag. Explain this idea.
Yeah. So basically, Bob Battle buys a body bag. I have in my shed a like rolls up. It's a little turf thing, so you can set up a net and golf in your backyard. But we have a ton of spiders and ants and stuff that get into our shed. So I was looking for something. I said, those body bags would be about the perfect size. So I get online, and I didn't realize this now. I'm on Amazon, and I'm starting to read some of these reviews for the body bag, and they are hilarious. People say, as a hitman, I find that the regular tie bags often leak blood, which can be and but there's like one funny review after another. So I mentioned my oldest son Connor. And Connor says, "Oh my goodness, have you seen the things?" And he starts just naming off the top of his head the banana slicer. Basically, a banana slicer is this little plastic thing that is shaped like a banana, and it's got spaces there, so you could put it over a banana, and it would slice the banana with you. And so they've got a picture of the guys taken of saying, "I'm sorry, all my bananas are curved the other way." and then he's got there's another one of this watch, and it says like, I forget what the original price is, but it says /save $45,000 on this watch on Amazon. So this guy comes in and says, "I love this watch." He says, "As a matter of fact, I bought 3 of them last year. I saved $135. Now $135,000. Now I don't work." And then I used that. Took a picture of me getting into the body bag, but used that just as a whole thing of all of the. And then as you talked about the substances, I said, "Oh, by the way, I love my positive reviews." So I ended the thing by putting a couple nice reviews of the clients of mine had put on the internet.
Show the one where he's in the turkey. That's another good one. And anybody can get on your email list.
Then if you can't read it, it says gobble bobble. That's what I sent out for Thanksgiving, and sent out Thanksgiving card, and the copy, which you can't see on there, basically said, "Happy Thanksgiving. Beware of quote unquote turkeys who are giving out reckless driving, speeding, and DUIs." Because they do, starting Thanksgiving weekend, have a huge increase in roadblocks and other police presence in writing tickets for reckless driving, speeding, and DUI.
So I wanted to show this to everybody because I'm always getting on everyone about making sure that they're talking to their list and reminding their list about you, because this is exactly what you're doing. When you work with someone, especially getting them out of big trouble, they're going to remember you. But that memory only has a certain lifespan. And so it's really important that we continue to remind our clients who we are.
Right? Yeah, and that was...
Thanks, Thomas.
Yeah, and that was a decision behind the Bob Battle bobblehead. Yeah. I mean, I used to send people like a nice bottle of Veuve Clicquot champagne, which at the time you could buy for low 30s, still get it for low 40s. But if someone goes to a restaurant, they see on the menu it's over $100. Like, wow, this is a really nice bottle of champagne, which it is. But they talk about that. Oh, Bob Battle, sent this to me, because I referred him a case, at the time. But with the bobblehead, I found this, and it's like I found a company is bobblefactory.com, and you send in a couple headshots, and they make the bobblehead. So now when someone will send me a case, I will send them the bobblehead, and I've got I call it the Bob Battle bobblehead bulletin that I send along with it. And I show pictures I've had of the bobblehead with Gene Simmons and Kathy Ireland. Got another one with Ivanka Trump on there, and underneath it says, "Well, she needs at least one man in her life not being threatened with jail." And so, but I make that humorous. Then I invite people to take pictures of these and send them to feature them in newsletters. So I've got pictures of the bobblehead from the Space Needle, the Great Wall of China. Someone knew I went to Notre Dame, took it out from Notre Dame, and
that was like bobblehead goes around the world, or send pictures of it, and people would take, like Sandy, Ben's wife, took Bobble to China.
Yeah. And went to the great
carried it to
and part of the whole thing in the newsletter is I'm the boring married guy. He's the swinging out of control guy. So the reality is, I said, look, he's with Kathy Ireland. He's with Gene Simmons. He's on the Great Wall of China. I'm sitting, going to Greensville General District Court, begging for a deal. So.
That's good. Well, I wanted to show everybody that. Bob, thank you very much for sharing. Oh, I wanted to go back because we didn't really talk about that.
And for the newsletter, bobbattlenewsletter.com. That'll take you to an archive page, upper left-hand corner. You can just add your name and email, and I'll get you. And it's a free newsletter, and I make this promise sincerely. I will never sell any of your information unless, of course, my gambling debts start piling up again. Then all bets are off.
That's good. So I wanted to mention this because we should have mentioned it earlier, but early on, we were in a mastermind together. That's where, and it was Ben Glass,
Rem Jackson,
Bob Battle. That's where we met
Dave Freese, Charlie Hoffheimer, Mike Capuzzi, Jim Palmer, Paul Partridge.
Those are the original group.
Dream team.
Yeah. And that was the beginning of everything. That was before Ben had his own masterminds, I think. I think that was just us.
No, that was added, and Ben had started his mastermind.
Doing his thing. Yeah, that's because you were doing the coaching for all that other stuff too. Mm-hmm. But lots of great ideas, help. I mean, I felt like I was always the little kid of the group, right? Because I was. And you guys would beat the tar out of me, and we all did that to each other. It was a great fun time, just in terms of building your business. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. No, I mean, just the mastermind concept is you get a bunch of people, and each person gets their turn to talk about what they're doing. The shortest time, what's working, but then what are the biggest issues, et cetera. And then you get great ideas from a lot of really smart people. And like in anything, it's best. You and I were the newbies. I mean, I make the joke about being at Ben Glass's first mastermind meeting and going around, and we had Chuck Boyk, who is just everything he's always done about marketing is always top notch. And we had another lawyer from Indiana who had the most elaborate personal injury practice that was going. And so they get around for me, and I hadn't even had the bobblehead made, and I was just had the concept of it. And so these two go, and I'm like, I'm just starting out. Our website wasn't even active at this point. So a very short time after this first seminar back in 2006, so they come to me and goes, "So Bob, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm thinking about getting my own bobblehead." And Ben, who's a very positive person, just kind of gets there and goes, "Okay, who's next?" Yeah. I thought at lunchtime he was going to say, "Bob, why don't you go back to Richmond?" Just you're a little bit out of your league. So, but you said you want to hang around with people, who are bigger and smarter than you are, and said it, but worked for both of us.
Yeah, and it's funny about that because I do remember those days when everybody was teasing you about your bobblehead idea. And but you stood your ground. You're like, I'm doing it, and you did, and it has become one of your mainstays.
Yeah, I've even started giving my sons the T-shirt. My oldest son starts at the end of September at UCLA School for Theater, Film, and TV. My youngest son is also very much. He just got done doing a production of Newsies in Richmond. But I've even started. I've rewritten the letter and made it basically the Bobby. And so basically, so for some of his theater friends, the lovely and talented Evelyn Dumere, who just turned 18. She got the first Bobby Award, but I've actually done this as an award that I give to some of the local young men and women who are just amazing in the theater community in Richmond.
That's great. Well, Bob, thank you so much for coming. You drove all the way up from Richmond, which is saying a lot coming from Richmond to Fairfax, right?
It's all right. It's always worth it to come hang out here.
Well, I appreciate you coming. I appreciate always the fun, the laughs, the time that we've spent together, the way that we've helped each other through good times and tough times, and looking forward to many more years to come.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. This is the end of the 5th episode of The World of Marketing, starring Mr. Bob Battle himself. Thank you, buddy.
All right.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.